Hello and thanks for tuning into another Monarch Snapshot video. My name is Greg Stilson, and in this video we are going to walk through actually importing an eBraille file that we downloaded in a prior video. The Treasure Island sample eBraille file is available on the Monarch APH website, and in the previous video we had that link emailed to us. We were able to go into the Keymail application, hit enter on the link, open it up in our web browser on our Monarch, and actually download it using our device. All this is now possible through the Monarch 1.2 update that released in March of 2025. If you haven't updated your Monarch, you can do so through the Key Updater application. But now that we have that file, that eBraille file on our device, what we can do is go into our Victor Reader application. So I'm going to hit V for Victor Reader.
Victor Reader.
And press enter.
Victor Reader. My books.
And right now I don't have it in the My Books section of this. So we need to import this from the file manager. So it's in my Downloads folder. I'm going to hit I for import.
Import book.
And press enter.
Download.
And it's in the
OneDrive_2025-0
folder here. And if I space down or arrow down,
treasure-island.ebrl.
it says treasureisland.ebrl. And before I start, I'm going to turn on visual braille so that you are able to see exactly what I'm looking at. So you'll actually be able to see the dots that are on my display. Now, when we launched version 1.2 with an eBraille file, there's three pillars that exist. The whole point of eBraille is so that you can create quick, efficient navigation like what you're used to in EPUBs or DAISY files, where you can jump to section or heading or chapter or page. The second is to be able to embed tactile graphics into the same file so that on a tactile capable device like the Monarch, you're able to not only read the Braille text, but you're also able to open up a tactile graphic and experience that as well. The last one is, and this is why we're calling it a preview, the last pillar is the spatial alignment or spatial formatting that exists on a piece of Braille paper. And that's one that we are working with our partner Dolphin to implement, and we'll be pushing that that last pillar of eBraille out in a future update coming soon. But we wanted to get a sample eBraille file in your hands so you can experience what it's like to at least access a book complete with tactile graphics on a tactile device like the Monarch. So I'm going to turn on our visual Braille output so you can see it. And I'm going to open up the My Books section by pressing enter.
My Books 1. Treasure Island.
And here's Treasure Island. I'm going to open that up, and now it's going to
loading
open
content.
This file. Oh, it says loading content. And some of these books can be quite large. Right now, this book is relatively small. It'll take about 10 seconds to open, and it just did. And what you're seeing now is the Treasure Island book. This book has an embedded tactile graphic in it, and what I'm going to do is activate that tactile graphic. So just below the words Treasure Island, most of the way down my screen, I have something that looks like sort of an arrowhead, and then it says tactile graphic image. And what I'm going to do is use my point and click gesture to point and click right on that. And it's going to open up this graphic in my tactile graphic viewer.
Index. Page 1.
And it's a multi-page tactile graphic, so there must be two sides to this graphic. So I'm going to press enter on page 1 just to take a look at what this is.
Tactile viewer.
So it's loaded up a zoomed out version of this graphic. And what I'm going to do is zoom in on the top to experience what this says. So in Braille, I see Treasure Island, and then I see key down below. So I'm going to use my arrow keys to pan down to understand what these symbols are. So along the left side, I see something that looks like a triangle, and it says hill. So that tells me that that symbol represents hill. I'm going to arrow down a little bit further, and now I see kind of a blobby symbol, and that is the swamp. And then below that, I see a like a full cell, and that represents the treasure. Okay. So that's page 1. We can actually flip over to the next page by pressing enter with the letter O or the right arrow command. And it's flipping over to the next page, which appears to be a map of some sort. I'm going to touch the top and point and click again to get a sense of what I'm looking at. And If I look here, it says Treasure Island. I'm going to arrow to the right using my D-pad. And now I can come down here just using the arrow keys to pan around. And I'm able to understand that there looks like to be a number line at the top, 0, 1, 2, 3, and it looks like this represents the number of miles. So if I arrow down here, I can now explore uh, the foremast hills, and I can see that there's a hill here, and I see that symbol that appears to represent the treasure right right there. So this is an example of a way that the student can immediately gain access to a tactographic embedded in an eBraille file. I see um, the North Inlet and various other symbols here. So now that I've taken a look at this graphic, I can switch immediately back to the tactile graphic just by double pressing the square button. I can switch back to the
Recent
book.
apps. Tactile.
And now
Tactile
I'm
graphic image.
exactly where I ended up in the book. And now what I can do is the table of contents command
Victor Reader.
and see all of the parts of the table of contents. So let's say I want to go directly to part one. What I can do is point and click on part one, and it's going to take me directly to part one, and I can begin reading. I see section I, the old man, or sorry, the old sea dog at Admiral Benbow. And if I come down below that, then the book begins to start, and I can read through, press my page down button, and continue to read section by section. Now, if I want to jump by heading, I can just repeatedly type the letter H, and I see that it's moved me to section I. Now it's moved me to section I, and so far and so forth. I can press backspace on the letter H to go backward by the same heading as well. So um, at this point, this is basically the point of an eBraille, and I apologize. It was backspace, enter, and the letter H, excuse me, to go to the previous heading. So you can also choose to go by heading level 1, 2, and 3 by typing those numbers and jumping directly to those locations as well. So this is sort of the first iteration or the first created eBraille file that exists, along with really the first reading device to be able to read an eBraille file. Now, I'll conclude by saying that you may be wondering where the text-to-speech voice is. And that is one of the sort of caveats of eBraille as we try to replicate what it's like to experience a physical book, right? And so on what makes up eBraille is Unicode Braille characters. And so at this time, there is no supported text to speech. So we're trying to replicate the experience of reading a Braille book with all the efficiencies built in of being able to jump to section heading and things like that. So I hope you found this video helpful of how to import an eBraille file and what an eBraille is really made up of. We look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks for watching another Snapshot video from your friends here at APH and Humanware.